Hello everyone and welcome back to the GCSE Maths Series. Today we're going to be looking at how to answer harder ratio questions. So let's get straight into it. So question 1, it tells us that three friends share £90. Emma and Fran share their parts in the ratio 7-3. So let's write this out. Emma to Fran in the ratio 7-3. Fran and George share their parts in the ratio of 4-1. How much does Emma receive? Okay, so what we can first do here is see that Fran is common in both ratios. So that way we can get a ratio between all three of them and how they split their money is to make Fran the same in both ratios. And the way we do this, we look at the highest common factor, the lowest common multiple of Fran in both ratios. In this case, obviously we're going to try and make this 12. So to get this ratio for Fran to be 12, we have to times this ratio by 4 and times this ratio by 3. Hence, what we're going to do is we're going to get Emma to Fran to George. George is going to be 7 times 4 is 28. 3 times 4 is 12, obviously. And we've accounted for that already. And then 1 times 3 is 3. And this is the ratio between the three friends. So we can see that Emma has 28 parts, Fran has 12 parts, and George has 3 parts. So what we can now do is add up the total number of parts. Add the total number of parts. And then we get 28 plus 12 plus 3, which is equal to 43 parts as a total. Now we work out what one part is worth. So £90 divided by 43, and this is to work out how much one part is worth in this ratio. So 90 divided by our 43 gets us 2.093, and then we have to times this to work out how much 28 parts is worth. So 2.93 times by 28 gets us £58.60. So out of the £90 that the three friends shared, Emma gets £58.60. Moving on. 3 siblings, Hannah, Ian, and Jake, share chocolates. The ratio Hannah to Ian is 5-2. And Hannah to Jake is 3-4. If Jake receives 35 more chocolates than Hannah, how many does Ian receive? Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do here is to put them into one ratio. And obviously we can see that Hannah is common in both, so we have to make the number of parts for Hannah equal in both ratios. The way we do this is times this one by 3 and times this one by 5. And then we get Hannah to Ian to Jake is going to be, Hannah's going to be worth 15 parts, Ian's going to be worth 6 parts, Jake is going to be worth 4 times 5, which is 20 parts. And this is our ratio for the 3 siblings together. Now it tells us that Jake receives 35 more chocolates than Hannah. So, as you can see, Jake has 20 parts, Hannah has 15 parts, which means that 20 minus 15 is 5 parts. So the difference between the number of parts that Hannah has and Jake has is 5 parts, right? And it tells us that Jake receives 35 more chocolates than Hannah, which tells us that 5 parts is equal to 35. So now we're going to have, from this information, we're going to work out how much one part is worth, which is 35 divided by 5, which means that one part is worth 7 chocolates, right? And it now tells us how many does Ian receive. So Ian's worth 6 parts of the share. So we times this one by 6 and get 7 times 6 to be 42. So in total, Ian has 42 chocolates. Okay, moving on. Ella and Finn share a bag of marbles. Ella and Finn share a bag of marbles in the ratio 7-3. Ella gets E marbles and Finn gets F marbles. Grace and Harry share the same number of marbles as Ella and Finn, but they share it in the ratio of 6-5. Grace gets G marbles and Harry gets H marbles. Find the ratio EFGH. So, the way we attempt this question is we look at the number of parts that each ratio has. So, this one has 10 parts. This one has 11 parts. So, we notice that it tells us they have the same amount of marbles. So, what we can do is make the number of parts the same, as we know that the ratios are split amongst the same amount of marbles for each one. So we need to find the lowest common multiple between 10 and 11 to make the number of parts between the ratios equal. So times this side by 11 times this side by 10, and we get the ratios to be 77 to 33 to 60 to 50. So in this case, we've made the number of parts the same, and we've worked out that this is the ratio of E to F to G to H. And as you can see, 77 plus 33 is going to be 110. 60 plus 50 is also going to be 110. Hence, we know that the same amount of marbles were shared amongst both ratios. Noah and Riley share some money in the ratio 5-2. Amara and Leo share the same total number of money as Noah and Riley. They share it in the ratio of 4-7. This is a very similar question to the one before, and it tells us to find the ratio between all of them. So, well, this is obviously going to be N to R to A to L. So, looking at this question, this has 7 parts. This ratio here has 11 parts. To make these the same, we have to find the lowest common multiple between 7 and 11. We do this by, if you don't know how to do this, watch my video in the previous episodes, or one of the previous episodes, on the lowest common multiple and highest common factor. But I'm just going to do it quickly here. So I know the lowest common multiple is 77. So I'm going to try and make the number of parts 77. I'll do this by timesing this ratio by 11, timesing this one by 7, and the ratio becomes 55 to 22 to 28 to 49. And this is our whole ratio. And just to prove that they have the same amount of money, this is going to be our 77, and then 49 plus 28 also gives us our 77. Okay, that's going to conclude today's video on some harder ratio questions. If you find it a struggle, look back at the ratio revision lesson and the ratio question series. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.